Bienvenidos amigos and fans of cinema and all of the hottest entertainment with an edge. This is Jaime Enfuego from Enfuegotainment, where that is what we constantly cover here on my station that is just floating around in the cyberspace. I'm Jaime Enfuego, and gracias for joining me today for the inaugural edition of Enfuegotainment Presents. And this is something that I'm beginning here on February 1st, which is going to be me doing a different bit of that hottest pop culture with an edge coverage Monday through Friday. It's going to be so sick. I've been planning this for quite the while, and there is always going to be a different type of segment depending on the day, Monday through Friday. This being Monday, we're going to have something called the Nightly Nerd News. That's right, Nightly Nerd News at 9, and all of these episodes are going to be debuting sometime in the 9 o'clock hour Pacific Standard Time, so you can always look for those then. And it's just me, doing some nerdtastic news today, and on a different day, for instance, it'll be a Nightly Nerd Nostalgia, and we'll be doing a retro film review, or it'll be a Nightly Nerd Neuvo, and we'll be talking about a brand new film. So Enfuegotainment Presents, man, I got so much righteous stuff coming at you guys. I'm also getting re-solidified with some new programming on heavy metal television on the weekends, which is going to be sick too. So lots of exciting things to talk about. But let's get to the Bueno, the Malo, and the Feo. If you have never seen my program before, or if you've checked out my silliness countless times before, this is where I break down the good, the bad, and the ugly. And here for the Nightly Nerd News at 9, we're basically going to be talking about some good, bad, and ugly on a bunch of different news stories that I've got today. Now, it's kind of funny that this is my first episode ever of this, because check it out, it was a pretty thin weekend as far as news goes. But being Monday, you know that it is a weekend that we just had at the box office, so there was a bunch of new flicks that hit theaters, and there were some disappointments there. So Bueno, first and foremost, let's talk about Kung Fu Panda 3, man. Yeah, I honestly did not see 2, but I loved the first one, and this is what ruled the box office this weekend, man. But the only Malo thing to mention here is that it didn't do anywhere near as much as Kung Fu Panda 2 or the first one. So it was still like the third highest opening ever in January. So Jack Black, man, and his assorted cast of, like, he's got Jackie Chan doing a voice in there, Angelina Jolie, the list goes on. But yeah, it still shows that this type of silly kitty stuff from DreamWorks as they wait for the next Shrek film is still kind of relevant. So that's cool. They got their number 1. Nobody was expecting Star Wars to top the box office again. That comes in at number 3, but we're going to give a little bit of mention to The Revenant, because that's still chugging along at number 2. I feel like after all of that news of the Academy Award nominations, and as Leo started to kind of pile up these awards, people are just more and more drawn to this film. You can see my review of it here on Enfuegotainment. I did it with 2 of my horror show compadres, Mr. Cecil Laird and also producer Dave. So they assisted me with that review. Check it out on my channel. Please, do that like and sharing thing if you happen to digs. But yeah, so The Revenant, it's quite good, but I'm just really anticipating so much else that we have coming in the month of February. I mean, here in just a couple weeks, we've got, both Zoolander 2 and Deadpool coming out the same weekend. That's going to be nuts. So, yeah, that's the top 3. Star Wars has been out so long, it makes another 10-something million. Pretty sweet, it's chugging to, no one's really sure if it's going to hit $1 billion here domestically now, but it's almost at 2 worldwide. It might catch Titanic, man, it probably will, but I don't think it's going to get too much further than that. Not going to catch Avatar, unfortunately. So here is where we get to the Malo. So Bueno that Star Wars is still around, really good that Revenant is still, with all the awards attention, selling tickets, and Kung Fu Panda does great, 3rd highest ever opening in January, but the Malo is definitely the finest hours, which is this new Chris Pine, Casey Affleck. I've heard that the A story is quite good, the B story is pretty forgettable and very cliched, but to the tune of Pearl Harbor, which is another film that had an Affleck in it, as far as, like one half being tolerable and the other half being, I don't know, I had some interest in the film, but just like a lot of others, I didn't make it a point to go out and see it this past weekend. So yeah, I guess not a lot of other people did either. It finished at 4th, big disappointment. And then number 5 to round out half of that top 10 is going to be that silly sequel Ride Along 2 with Kevin Hart, who, guys, I don't know, but that is a fail for me. I'm sick of Kevin Hart. He used to amuse the hell out of me as far back as I think like that second Scary Movie, or maybe it was the third one. But in any event, yeah, I think it was 3. But man, when he's talking about how can you wake up dead and all that stuff, so funny. But yeah, it is Feo because he is a victim of overexposure, at least in my opinion. It even happened to a guy that he did a film with, a year or so ago, Will Ferrell. So it can happen to the best of them. I still think Kevin Hart's very funny, but dude, I'm sick of you. But that's still continuing to make money. Biggest disappointment, though, and this is even beyond a Malo of, you know, the finest hours. This is a fail for our first news story here on the Nightly Nerd. Man, I'm telling you, Jane Got a Gun. This went through so much trouble. Natalie Portman's Western, and I still have interest in it because the cast, you got Jude Law, Joel Edgerton, but it's so many problems behind the scenes. It's just like, ugh, how do you contend with all of that? And the fact that I barely knew anything about it. The marketing campaign was donuts. It was zero. There was barely any press for this film, and, you know, the advertising campaign fell flat. So I don't think the studio believed in it by the time it was finally about to come out, and that's ugly as well. That's some fail. So yeah, that's the weekend box office for you, man. There's a little bit of everything, a little good, a little bad, and a little ugly, and that's probably what will happen every Monday when we're doing the Nightly Nerd and talking about the box office. So we have another story that is going to be a combination of a little bit of everything: the Bueno, the Malo, and the Feo. Some good, some bad, some ugly. The Screen Actors Guild, the SAG Awards, those took place this weekend as well. That was, besides the movies that got released, the biggest thing, man. And so Bueno most definitely is the fact that you had Idris Elba getting some attention, especially with all of this silliness of, you know, Oscars so white and all that, which I don't completely buy into all of, but, you know, everyone's entitled to opinions, and we need more diversity starting at the bottom, at least in my opinion, as far as the roles being cast, and not so much about the roles that have already been cast not being recognized and stuff. So I don't know, but that's a whole nother argument. I thought it was really righteous for Idris Elba to get that Best Supporting Actor nod in Beast of No Nations. I really would have liked Mitchell from, I believe Jason Mitchell is his name. He played Eazy-E in the Straight Outta Compton movie, which was one of my personal favorites here on Enfuegotainment of the entire year. You can see my review of that with Jacob Hiz out here on my station as well. But yeah, his performance, I thought he was the star of the film. You know, he's not going to get a lead nomination because it was an ensemble piece as opposed to one person really being the lead actor, but I felt if anybody was, it was him. But yeah, for that double win for Alba, I thought that was really badass. That was a Bueno that I really have to make mention of. A Malo, though, is I see Leo still cleaning up. You know, he already won some Golden Globe awards, and, you know, now he wins the Screen Actors Guild Award for Best Lead for Revenant. And I gotta admit, I really think Tom Hardy outshined him in that particular film. It was kind of a mix of everything from, you know, Castaway to, you know, like Jeremiah Johnson, and then you've got like some revenge stuff going on as well. So that could be, you know, all kinds of other connotations. But for me, the film, while very, very good, I've seen better Leo performances. I think of something like Shutter Island, or, you know, Wolf of Wall Street, or some people would argue The Aviator, you know? So I don't know. That's the thing. And, you know, people can debate it all they want. I feel like this is we're finally going to give it to you year where, you know, we've seen it with directors, we've seen it with all kinds of different, you know, like producers and actors and things like that, where you get not so much the sympathy, you know, award, but just where they're like, okay, you've done so much great work and your body of work is ginormous. We're just, this year, the rest of the competition isn't so strong, head and shoulders above you, that I think it's your time. We're going to give it to you, you know, based on almost like a default. That's not an insult to Leo. That's not an insult to the film. I liked it a lot. But I feel like that is the Malo tide, the bad tide of just kind of trying to make amends for perhaps years when he could have deserved it more, you know, than others. So yeah, so that's some Malo. And then the Feo in all of this is just going to be the whole ugliness that is kind of permeating within Hollywood right now with regards to, you know, people worrying about overcompensating and people worrying about undercompensating for, you know, enough racial diversity. And we absolutely need it, but we can't force it. It really needs to be happening naturally. I don't think that there's this precognition personally for roles to be cast that way, but we do need to take a step back and really try to be more objective. And, you know, it's a really sad situation, and the fact that I even have to be sitting here talking about it is Feo enough. So let's hope that, you know, we can continue to see more diversity in the future and just really embrace the melting pot that is creativity across this planet as a whole. So yeah, a little bit of everything once again, guys. So Screen Actors Guild, weekend box office, that's what we got so far, and there really was not much else, as I have to say. So we're gonna go almost into like a lightning round for a few final tidbits here. A Bueno on the sports side that I want to briefly mention is, I guess, ESPN is actually finally launching a Sports Center AM. Personally, they've had content like that the entire time they've been in existence. They're just putting the Sports Center name on there. I think it's kind of silly, or, you know, what's even more silly is what took you so long. So that's a little lightning round on the Bueno. Little lightning round on the Malo is going to be the fact that CBS has apparently picked up a pilot for a reboot slash sequel of Training Day, you know, that incredible film where Denzel Washington really reversed his typecast, and that Ethan Hawke, who has played like less than savory characters from time to time, but also a hero. He's done a little bit of everything. He was the good guy, and, you know, Denzel was like the shady cop, and I guess they're gonna reverse that whole kind of dynamic, and they're gonna have the shady older white cop, and they're gonna have the younger black guy, and so I don't know. I'm so sick of just the bad, the Malo, where Hollywood just cannot come up with enough original ideas, at least in my opinion. I think it's happening more so on the indie side of things, even in like the realm of horror and sci-fi and things like that. Maybe not with your big franchises like your Star Wars and Star Trek, but I feel like most big box office films, the ones that get these big theatrical releases, they are all too often, more often than not, they're sequels, they're reboots, they're prequels, whatever it may be. Hollywood keeps gravitating towards these franchises, and that is bad. That could even be a fail, you know? So I have to mention a Training Day TV series. I want to see that about as much as I want to see this Rush Hour TV series. Ugh, so that's a little lightning round on the Malo side. And so finally, let's get into the Feo lightning round. A little blast of info for you. And this is a little bit of Enfuegotainment Deportes along with the entertainment stuff, you know, the hottest entertainment with an edge, hottest pop culture with an edge, which I'm always covering here. The Super Bowl, I think it is so ugly how it has drifted so far away from just being a football game. Now, some people may love this. I personally just cannot stand it. This is going to be almost like a mini Enfuegotorial right here. I just do not like the fact that it feels so bland, and the fact that they're trying to make it the biggest epic viewing event of the year, and for many it totally is. You've got so many trailers dropping during that day. Boy, am I hoping for a Star Wars one for Rogue One, but who knows if we're going to see that or not, you know. But Deadpool is going to be there. There's most definitely going to be like everything from, you know, the new Independence Day movie to, you know, probably some Marvel stuff. The list goes on, as I all too often like to say. It's just Feo to me in the fact that it feels like such a compromised event, in the fact that you're trying to appeal to everyone, and in turn you kind of appeal to nobody, because it just becomes a bland event of boredom. And so that's my Feo, the fact that we're going to see stuff like our beloved Deadpool and all these other franchises. I guess they're really going for that highest possible demographic, and, you know, perhaps that is a good thing. The more people that are watching, the more money these films are making, the more we can attract the good actors and directors and people to help create them. So maybe this is just me aging and getting a little bit grumpy and, you know, being a grumpy old man about that, but, you know, who's to say? But so yeah, guys, beyond that little final rant, that little bit of Feo, hey, you don't have to agree with me. That is just this journalist putting forth an opinion. I've been Jaime Enfuego, and gracias for tuning in with the slightly uneventful, but hey, hopefully fun and informative at the same time, bit of the Nightly Nerd News here on Enfuegotainment Presents. That's right, my new daily show. If you dug this video, please make sure to like, subscribe, share, do all that radness, you know, pass along the positivity. It's greatly appreciated. You can find me, Jaime Enfuego, on all social media sectors, just like you're seeing it spelled below. I'm always, you know, jumping on the Twitter, the Instagram, the Facebook, and most definitely here on YouTube daily now. And make sure to check me out on Saturday morning, that's right, at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time for 4 hours, hosting Heavy Metal Television at HeavyMetalTelevision.com. All week on The Horror Show, and all week here on Enfuegotainment, and I look forward to seeing you guys mañana or whenever. So adios, amigos. Until next time.